Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Table Flippers Podcast, Ministry of Greater Works Christian Church, right here in beautiful Lancaster, California. I am your host, Robert Enos. Here I will discuss theology, doctrine, politics, social and cultural issues, pretty much anything I feel like talking about. But basically, I flip tables. Please remember to download each episode. That's very important. Download each episode. Hold on tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride. We're going to take a break today from talking about toxic masculinity or just masculinity in general because I want to talk about something else, about some of these train derailments. And there's some things that really kind of got my curiosity in some of these things, so I decided to look into it just a little bit. And I'm going to read some articles to you today, but I want to talk to you about that. But right now, let me share with you, I'm sitting here enjoying this time together with you, my fans and my friends, drinking some half-calf coffee out of a coffee mug that my daughter got me. And it's really a cool mug because it says, "Sweet warm cup of liberal snowflake tears." And that just makes the coffee taste oh so much better, knowing that I'm drinking a cup full of liberal snowflake tears. Not literally, but I like it. I like the idea. So I want to talk to you again about these derailments, these train derailments. And as I was studying this morning, just to get some information on it, because quite frankly, up until just a little while ago, I didn't know too much about it. And unfortunately, I still don't think that I really know enough about it. But there are some things that caught my attention as I was reading some articles and looking into this. Number one, the first thing that caught my attention was how hush-hush this is. We're not getting a lot of information. There hasn't been a lot of information released. As a matter of fact, I caught one little article that was stated that there actually was a media personnel on site of one of these derailments that wanted to go in there and get a story, wanted to go figure out what was going on. And she was actually hauled off before she could get a story. Now, of course, I don't know exactly everything that happened. Maybe she went and punched a cop. I don't know. But it just seems strange to me that these types of things happen, or when they happen, it should cause each and every one of us, Americans especially, to kind of raise a brow and maybe do a double take. Something is going on when they won't even let the few reporters that actually want to write about this and say something about it, and again, this is not really being covered on any of the major news networks, at least in a manner and in a way that gives us the information that we really need. What's going on? It's too hidden. This is like, it's in the dark. It's in the shadows. And here's this reporter that wants to get out there and get a story and figure out what's going on and tell the American people, and she's hauled off. Interesting. But anyways, so that's the first thing, how dark this is and how secretive this is, and not letting the people really know. I came across another little video of a gentleman who, after one of those derailments in his area, in this particular area, there was a creek that he was next to. And he says, listen, all the worms and all the fish are dead in this creek. And he says, now watch this. And he took a stick, picked up a stick off the ground, and he ran it. It's not a very deep creek. I was guessing maybe 6 to 8 inches deep, 3 to 4 feet wide maybe, just a little creek, or a crick, depending on where you're from. So he takes his stick and he puts it down into the mud at the bottom of it, and he stirs it up. The mud, not just the water, but the mud. And then what floats to the top, I don't know if you've ever seen like oil that's been in the water and it floats to the top. It has this strange chemical, kind of colorful. It just floats onto the top. It makes a film on the surface. And a lot of chemicals, especially petroleum-based chemicals, do something very similar to that. And as he stirred the mud up, all these chemicals come floating up to the top. And that was one of the things that in some of the articles that I read and things, the people were still saying, even though this happened some time ago. And one of the trains burst into flames and burnt up most of the toxic chemicals that was on some of those train cars. But the people in this town and everything, they're still like this, almost like a chemical paint odor that's in the air, that the government keeps telling them it's okay, don't worry about it. So anyways, let me get into this. I found an article. I'm not going to quote or read the whole article, just a portion of it. And this goes all the way back to November 28th, 2022. So November of last year, just a few months ago. Was that 4 months ago? And you say, well, why going back so far? There's a reason why I'm starting with this, because it says in Florida, Clewiston, Florida, a train collided with a semi-truck and derailed early Monday morning. Now, before we go on, that it sounds to me, when you just, with that opening statement, that the train itself hit the truck. Like maybe the truck was on the tracks and stopped there for some reason, and then the train comes by and just, broadsides it. That's at least the way it opens up in my mind. But as I read some more into this article, what happened was the train was going, and the truck actually T-boned, if you will, the train. It hit the train. Now, it was at 2:45 in the morning, November 28th, 2022, at 2:45 in the morning, roughly, when this accident happened. And the truck T-boned the train and caused the train to derail. And what's interesting about this is when I read this, I thought that's strange. Not that these types of things don't happen. Accidents happen. But in light of what we've been seeing since that time, several trains being derailed, and I know of at least one of them, it was due to a semi-truck that had collided, or the train collided with the semi-truck, causing a derailment with all these toxic chemicals. Now, again, when I read this, here's what came to my mind. For all you conspiracy theorists, we're going to be labeled that anyway, so let's just embrace it, okay? Remember 9/11 and the terrorists that flew those planes into the Twin Towers and into our buildings, killing thousands of Americans and people that were here visiting. It turns out that these guys were here for quite some time, and they were actually taking flying lessons. But they weren't taking landing lessons, because they had no intention of landing those planes. But they did have intention of ramming them into our buildings and causing all kinds of chaos. But nonetheless, they had some trial runs. They were learning how to fly. They were taking flying lessons. So they were behind the wheel of the airplane, if you will. I don't know what they call it, a stick, whatever. But they were learning this. So there would have been, on at least some level, some trial runs. Now, I don't know about you, but when I start seeing these trains carrying toxic chemicals derailing, if it was just one, it would be a terrible thing, but we could just chalk it up to an accident and go about our merry way. If it was two, eyebrows raised. Maybe they need to start looking into this, get better protocols, fix up their old trains, whatever they need to do. Again, it's terrible, but let's go on our merry way. But when 3, 4, 5, whatever we're up to now, and all of these different types, and more of this is happening, and it just seems that there's some kind of toxic chemicals on most of these trains that are derailing. I begin to raise not just one eyebrow, 2 eyebrows. I don't want to go on my merry way. I want to stop and think about this for a while. Not only do I want to stop and think about it, but I want to go on a podcast and talk about it to get other people thinking about it. Because this, I don't believe in coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't believe in coincidence. There's always a reason for something. But again, if it just happened once, it could have been an accident. It happened twice, well, it could have been just strange accidents. But now this is more than 2 or 3 times. And I'm not saying that what was going on in November 28th of 2022 was the first time anything like this happened, but it just seems that a pattern started either at that time or around that time. And so anyways, again, all the way back in November of 2022, a truck hits a train and knocks it off the track, and it derails. Now, those were empty cars and everything, but it sounded to me like a dry run, they were practicing or whatever. That just sounds to me. I'm not a conspiracy guy, or I don't consider myself one, but when I see certain patterns, and I see these things that people want to just chalk up to coincidence, and I don't believe in coincidence, hey, I take notice. And I'm going to start talking about these things because the American people need to know. And the American people need to be aware of these things. We need the information. And guess what? Our government's not really giving it to us at this time. The media certainly isn't. And the few that want to are being hauled away. Something strange is going on in regard to these trains. Not just accidents. Not just broken down old equipment. And not just mishaps with a trucker on a highway in the fog or something of that nature. There's something going on. And we need some answers, ladies and gentlemen. But this isn't the only one that I want to talk about. A train derails in Texas, the Houston area. Let me just read this. This is a very short little article about this one. Let's see, it says, where am I? Houston area crash between truck, Union Pacific train, kills driver, derails 20-plus rails cars. So again, here this is happening, and this was posted February of this year, February 13th at 2023. So February 13, 2023, again, it was a Monday. Hey, that one in November 28th, 2022 was a Monday as well. Coincidence? Anyways, so February 13th of this year, another truck and train collide and derails 20-plus rail cars. The cargo on the train included some hazardous materials, prompting Union Pacific to monitor air quality at the site of the crash, according to the Splendora Police Department. A collision between the Union Pacific train and an 18-wheeler near Splendora, Texas on Monday, February 13, 2023, left the truck driver dead and derailed 21 cars according to Splendora Police Department. Truck driver died and several freight train cars were derailed during the Monday morning collision northeast of Houston. The crash between the 18-wheeler and the Union Pacific train occurred shortly before 7:30 a.m. Monday along Interstate 69 US 59 near its intersection with Fostoria, and Midline Roads between the towns of Splendora and Cleveland, according to Lieutenant Troy Teller of the Splendora Police Department. He said 21 train cars were derailed in the collision and that a hazardous materials team from Union Pacific was on site and monitoring air quality as a precaution. So there's a little bit more to it, but I just want to move on. So again, here's another one, so first in November, now February. Now, between November and February, were there other train wrecks? Maybe. Were there other derailments? I don't know. I'm just saying this is when I Googled this, I don't use Google, but when I searched this is what popped up. And I just find it amazing that, again, here's back in November, this truck rams a train. Now, it could have been totally an accident. The conditions, they claim, were somewhat foggy at that time and making it hard. And it was 2:45 in the morning, roughly. I'm sure that guy was very tired. But what if, and I'm just saying what if he wasn't so tired? What if it wasn't the fog? What if it was done on purpose? What if it was done on purpose? Just to see what would happen to the truck and to the train and all that stuff. What if? I mean, because we have people in this world that hate the United States of America and want to kill people. Hence 9/11. The whole reason 9/11 happened was because there was people that wanted to kill Americans, wanted us, as they say, bring us to our knees. And maybe now, instead of airplanes, they're using 18-wheelers or something of that nature and trains. Could it be possible? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's more than possible. It's more than possible. It's a reality that we need to wake up to, especially when our government is not giving us answers. Because honestly, this is what it causes me. If it was just this, I would go, it's probably some terrorists that we need to get a handle on. Okay? But you and I both know, all of us know, what we've just seen with this present administration and what we see on a daily basis. This administration, our present government, doesn't care for you and I. As a matter of fact, we are a problem to them, especially us patriots who stand up for Americans' freedoms and such. We know this because through the whole so-called pandemic, they were coming against us who stood up for our freedom, telling people that we were the murderers, we were the problems, we were the super spreaders. Remember all of that? They labeled us. They said we were going to murder people. We were really the problem. They even said anti-American for standing up for our freedoms. Go figure. Go figure. So it would not be, listen, I wouldn't put it against this administration at all, to be behind all of this, trying to bring America back into fear so that they can control us. And if people die along the way, they don't care. And if you ever wonder, well, I don't know, maybe he's being large, just think of the COVID nonsense. It was our very own government that was keeping people from drugs and treatments that actually worked and putting out their treatments that was actually killing people. Hello? I know I'm not the only one that sees this. I know I'm not the only one with eyes to see and ears to hear what's really going on. So when I see stories like this, and it starts happening one after another, one after another, one after another, and there seems to be a common thread, and at least one of those common threads is the government is trying to shut us down and shut us up and keep us in the dark, then it makes me believe that maybe, just maybe, they're actually behind it. There was a lot of people, and I'm not saying I fully buy into this, but it sure gets me thinking, but there was a lot of people that believed that it was people in our government that was behind 9/11 to give us an excuse and a reason to go into the Middle East the way we did. Now, again, I don't know if it was or wasn't. But right now, with everything that I've seen over the last 2-3 years, I wouldn't put it against them. There is no way that people can convince me that this present government right now cares for any one of us. And I wouldn't put anything against them. I mean, it's just, they're that evil. Yes, they're that evil and they're that wicked. Let me go on. So that was, where were we? We were just in Texas there, right? Yeah, train derails in Texas. There's more. There is more. Just have to find it. Wait, there was another one. Oh, Michigan, Detroit. Where is it? I'm looking for it, ladies and gentlemen. Ah, here it is. Train derails. Oh, I see what happened. I messed up on my typing. I typed up some things, cut and paste, did some things, and now I'm paying for it. Train derails in Detroit, Michigan. So let me just read just a little bit of this again. This is train derails outside Detroit, Michigan with one car carrying hazardous materials. Isn't that interesting? Again, hazardous materials. A Van Buren Township train derailment unfolds nearly 2 weeks after East Palestine, Ohio. We're going to talk about that one in just a moment. And again, this is another one with hazardous materials. Isn't it interesting and just a coincidence that I don't believe in, that all of these train derailments have something to do, the common thread is hazardous materials. At least the main common thread. There's a few that are just, like I said, when you see so many things playing into it and so many coincidences, it's not a coincidence. Anyways, this is by Greg Norman of Fox News. Train derails outside Detroit, Michigan with one car carrying hazardous materials. I guess that was the title. A train containing one car of hazardous materials has derailed Thursday in Van Buren Township outside Detroit, Michigan. Reports say the cause of the derailment was not immediately clear. Isn't that interesting? Not immediately clear. A train containing one car of hazardous materials has derailed Thursday. I don't know why they keep telling us that. I'm glad they are. They're making it sure that we know that there was hazardous materials. But that's like the fourth time they've said that just in the opening statements. Anyways, authorities respond to a train derailment in Van Buren, Detroit, Township in Detroit. Officials that spoke to WXYZ, I guess that's a radio program or a radio station, which reported that at least 6 cars were seen off the track, said one of them was carrying hazardous materials. The derailment comes less than 2 weeks after a train carrying toxic chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Police told Fox 2 Detroit that roads will be closed in the area while investigation is ongoing. And again, I'm going to stop right there for just a minute, or at least on that article, because again, what I just read made the point. This one, it didn't say whether a truck hit it or not, but nonetheless, toxic materials. Now, I don't know, but it just seems to me that either many of our trains out there are hauling toxic materials, if not all of them. I'm not talking about passenger trains, but freight trains, cargo trains, whatever. Are many of them carrying toxic materials like that, or what is this plan? And it's just really just an accident that if any train went off the road, it's automatically going to have toxic chemicals because all trains carry toxic chemicals? I don't know. But see, these are the types of things that our government and the people in authority, the train, the owners, the train, the people who run the trains, all that, they need to square up with us, and they need to tell us this, because I need to know this. Because what it seems like to me is that somebody knows that there's toxic chemicals on these particular trains, and then make sure that these trains derail in a place that is going to harm a lot of people and wildlife. From the reports that I've been reading and just little capturing here and capturing there and hearing that miles from the crash site, they're finding dead fish, dead livestock, Animals out in the wild are dying and sick. Pets are sick and dying. And then when the government officials do show up and actually say something, they go, oh, don't worry, the water's safe to drink. Go ahead and drink it. Oh, don't worry, the air is safe to breathe. Go ahead and breathe it. Really? Then why is little Fifi over there turning blue and dropping dead, choking, breathing the same air I'm breathing? Why is all the fish dying and those fish live in the same water that I'm drinking? Why is the deer and the skunks and the raccoons all dropping over dead, falling out of trees and such? Well, if you ever see a deer fall out of a tree, that would be interesting. Take a picture of it and send it to me. But you get my point. All these animals keeling over, sick and dying, livestock dying out in the field, miles from the crash site, and then they go ahead and tell you, oh, drink the water, breathe the air, eat the food. You're okay. What? Come on, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who were around way back when, you remember Rod Serling. He would come out smoking a cigarette about this time with the Twilight Zone little jingle behind. You've just entered the Twilight Zone. And that's what I think we're in sometimes. So when anybody tries to tell me, or, oh yeah, Biden's such a loving president and his cabinet, and they just really care for people and blah, blah, blah. Don't make me cuss. Please don't make me cuss. I don't like to cuss. I do my best to never use swear words and cuss words and everything like that. I'm just, as just a church leader and just a community leader and just a husband and a father, I don't like to, but please don't even push me. Don't tempt me. So ladies and gentlemen, please don't ever say anything that stupid to me. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about America. As a matter of fact, my mind is made up that not only Biden, but the whole Democrat Party is out to destroy America. And again, I wouldn't, if all the truth came out about this and we found out that it was actually this present government system that is behind all of this, I wouldn't doubt it for a moment. I honestly wouldn't doubt it. As a matter of fact, I'd be one of those guys who would say, see, told you so. And I've had a lot of those I told you so moments. A lot of people say, hey, you're just into those conspiracies. Well, it's no longer conspiracy when it comes true. So I'm going out on a limb here. In some way, somehow, there's a government agency, U.S. government agency associated and behind this. There just is, okay? There just is. All these different places and all these different times, these trains derailing, every one of them that's derailing has toxic chemicals. Who knows about these toxic chemicals? Who? Why is it just those? You see what I'm saying? This is ridiculous. So I want to read to you another article, but I want to read the whole article on this one. It's only 2 full pages, so it's not that long. And for this article, since I'm reading the whole thing, I'll just go ahead and put the what do they call it? The address that you can click on and get to in the comments for this episode, if you want to read it yourself. But it starts out this way. EPA chief visits toxic Ohio train derailment site. Now, this was the one in Ohio. Remember the last little article that I quoted from made reference to this. So the last one that I read, what was it, Detroit? It's 2 weeks after the one I'm talking about right now. Okay, so and there's a reason why I chose to focus on this one, even though it's not the newest one. I'm focusing on this one, and you'll see why. It says EPA chief visits toxic Ohio train derailment site. Trust the government, it says in parentheses. Michael Regan sought to reassure skeptical residents that the water is fit for drinking and the air safe to breathe around East Palestine. Now, that's not Palestine out in the Middle East. That's East Palestine in Ohio. And this was written and published by, on the AP, Patrick Orsagos. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. February 17th, 2023 at 7:17 a.m. Oh, today's February 17th. So that was this morning. Wow, I didn't even realize that this article was that fresh. Anyways, so this morning at 7:17, this was posted. So this is fresh in that sense. East Palestine, Ohio, AP. The head of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency got a first-hand look Thursday at the toll left by the freight train derailment in Ohio, where toxic chemicals spilled or were burned off, leaving the stench of fresh paint nearly 2 weeks later. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we have it's another derailment, train derailment with toxic chemicals. And apparently this one had a lot more toxic chemicals than the other ones. At least it's being reported that it does. EPA Administrator Michael Regan, who walked along a creek that still reeks, listen to this, still reeks of chemicals, sought to reassure skeptical residents that the water is fit for drinking and the air safe to breathe around East Palestine, where just under 5,000 people live near the Pennsylvania state line. I'm asking they trust the government. I know it's hard. We know there's a lack of trust. This is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. I want to read that again because this Michael Regan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, R-E-G-A-N, Reagan or Regan. Michael Regan, who's the EPA administrator, says this to the people where you can still smell the chemicals in the air, and you can still see and smell the chemicals in the creek near the town where these people live. Now, I'm not sure if Michael Regan understands this. I would think that he would, because I'm assuming he's an educated man. But the water on the surface in our creeks, rivers, lakes, rainwater, when it hits the ground, it eventually makes it into the water table where we get our drinking water. So if there's chemicals, poisonous chemicals in the surface water, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it will eventually make its way into the water table and into our tap water. Okay, just so you know. All right? And he actually says this. I can't believe these people. I cannot believe these people, especially with everything that we've seen, everything that we've heard, everything that we've been through in this country in the last few years. He actually has the nerve. He has the nerve and the gall to say this. I'm asking that they trust the government. I know it's hard. We know there's a lack of trust. Well, yeah, Michael Regan, there's a big, huge lack of trust, and I wonder why. Because the American government, Biden, Fauci, and people like them are responsible for millions of deaths in America because you denied treatment that actually worked for COVID. You did those people suffering. You denied treatment. You guys are the ones that went ahead and put elderly people into homes with those who had COVID. And we saw the elderly dropping like flies because of your failures. And then you're going to have the nerve to come along at a time like this where people are concerned and they can still smell the stench of the poison that's been killing animals all around, killing fish, killing livestock, killing wildlife. They can still smell the stench of that poison. And you say, I'm just asking, go ahead and drink the water, breathe the air, and trust me. Just trust me. Trust your government. I know it's hard, but do it anyways. I don't even know what to say to this. I don't even know what to say to this. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it is of my opinion that there is a government agency behind it. And maybe this Michael Regan knows that, maybe he doesn't. But what an idiotic statement to say after everything that we've seen. What he should have been saying is, I know you don't trust us because we have failed you so many times, but I hope to earn your trust with the good things that we do here. Now let's get a handle on this. Let's get this cleaned up so that you all can get back to your lives. Anyways, Reagan said, we are testing for everything that was on that train. We're testing for everything that's on that train. They don't know. They don't have, what do they call those things? A log. They don't have manuscripts. They don't have something where they can pull it up on a computer and know exactly what was on that train in every barrel and in every car. That should have taken them literally, 30 seconds? Okay, I'll be nice. And we are dealing with the government. In 2 minutes, they should know. Come on. Since the derailment, back to the article, ladies and gentlemen, since the derailment, residents have complained about headaches, irritated eyes, and finding their cars and lawns covered in soot. The hazardous chemicals that spilled from the train killed thousands of fish, and residents have talked about finding dying or sick pets and wildlife. Residents are frustrated by what they say is incomplete and vague information about the lasting effects from the disaster which prompted evacuation. I have grandbabies, said Kathy Dyke, who came with hundreds of her neighbors to a public meeting Wednesday where representatives of railroad operator Norfolk Southern were conspicuously absent. Oh, conspicuously. It's just kind of a funny looking word, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so the operator of Norfolk Southern were conspicuously absent. Are they going to grow up here in 5 years and have cancer? Regan said Thursday that anyone who is fearful of being in their home should seek testing from the government. They should seek testing from the government. Oh yeah, that's going to go good. Oh, that's going to go good. Just like with COVID. How everybody had COVID. But in this sense, because now their neck is on the line, now nobody's going to have anything. Go get tested by the government. I mean, come on. This is why conspiracy theorists exist, because our government creates the very conspiracies that people glom onto. Trust your government, even though we fail you at every turn. Go get tested by the government, even though they lie to us at every turn. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, Lord have mercy. Let me keep going. Let me keep reading. People have been unnerved. They've been asked to leave their homes, he said, adding that if he lived there, he would be willing to move his family back into the area as long as the testing shows it's safe. You liar. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. If the government shows up with some test and says it's safe, I'd be willing to move back there. Okay, then Michael Regan. I'm going to call you out on this. I personally think you're lying. I think you're a liar. I don't think you would move into that area at all. So here's what it is. I know that you're probably some DC fat cat, but nonetheless, everything can be done remote these days. Everything can be done remote. Go rent a house there in that area, even just for 6 months. And every day you work from that house in that area and smell those fumes and drink that water and eat that food every day. Work remote and you stay there. You live there. You sleep there. You go to the restaurants there. You put your kids in those schools. Let me see you do that. Then maybe, just maybe, if you were to do something like that, I, for one, and maybe my listeners, would have just a slightest little bit of trust for you in our government. But I know this. You won't. It doesn't matter what government test says. It doesn't matter what the government does. They can bring in 30 bulldozers and completely strip that land all the way down for 10 feet and get every chemical out of there, and I would still guarantee you wouldn't do it. Hey, but maybe I'll be pleasantly pleased. So I'm calling you out, Michael Regan. Go live there. 6 months, that's all I'm asking. Go live there. Work remote. Get out of D.C. or wherever you're at, Virginia, wherever you're at, and go live there in that town with those people so that you can look at them in the face every day. When you go choking to bed at night because of the chemicals, you can look them in the face. Come on, Michael Regan. Are you going to take me up on it or not? I doubt it. Anyways, as long as the government tests show it's safe. Anyways, back to the article. Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Michael Regan answers questions at Sulphur Creek, East Palestine, Ohio, February 16, 2023. So there was some kind of town meeting. He answers a few questions. Those attending the previous night's informational session had questions about health hazards and demanded more transparency from Norfolk Southern, which did not attend, citing concerns about its staff safety. Actually, what that is we're too chicken to show up. We don't have any answers except bad answers, and we're going to claim that you guys are dangerous and threatened us, so we didn't show up. So we don't have to answer any of these questions. That's basically what that means. Anyways, many who had waited in a long line snaking outside the high school gymnasium came away upset that they didn't hear anything new. Some booed or laughed each time they heard the village mayor or state health director assure them that lingering odors aren't dangerous. They just dance around the questions a lot, said Danielle Deal, who lives a few miles from the derailment site. Norfolk needed to be here. At least 5 lawsuits have been filed against the railroad, which announced this week that it is creating a $1 million fund to help the community while continuing to remove spilled contaminants from the ground and streams and monitoring air quality. We are here and will stay here for as long as it takes to ensure your safety and to help East Palestine recover and thrive. Norfolk Southern President and CEO Alan Shaw said in a letter to the community. Families who evacuated said they want assistance figuring out how to get the promised financial help. Beyond that, they want to know whether the railroad will be able or held responsible. State and federal officials have promised to make sure Norfolk Southern not only pays for the cleanup, but also the reimbursements of residents. The White House said teams Here it comes again. Our government is talking about this and coming in like a knight on shining armor. Yeah. The White House said teams from the Federal Health and Emergency Response and the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention will go to East Palestine. Well, we saw what the CDC did with the COVID nonsense. So, yeah, I have really high hopes that the people of East Palestine are in good hands right now. They're in very good hands, and CDC is there, and all these federal health and emergency. I mean, come on, give me a break. Anyways, let me go on. We understand the residents are concerned, as they should be, and they have questions. That's all understandable, said White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. I think that's how you say her name. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. Well, of course, you're already at the bottom of it. You guys, number one, you're at the bottom of the barrel anyways. You're at the bottom of the swamp anyways. So you're already at the bottom of it. And I know this. Ladies and gentlemen, please mark these words. Am I claiming to be prophetic? Well, I guess maybe in this sense. There is a government agency behind us. I'm hoping and praying that it all gets exposed and we find out who and the why. But there already is. It just is. We're going to get to the bottom of this. We are going to get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. I know that you're upset, but just chill. Just chill for a while. Chill for a while. The Biden administration is on the job, and we're going to get down to the bottom of this. Yeah. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yeah. No one was injured when about 50 cars derailed in a fiery, mangled mess on the outskirts of East Palestine on February 3rd. Officials seeking to avoid an uncontrolled blast evacuated the area and opted to release the burned toxic vinyl chloride from 5 rail cars, sending flames and black smoke billowing into the sky again. The Ohio EPA said the latest tests show 5 wells supplying the village's drinking water are free from contaminants. Now, if that is true, and I only I have a little bit of hope, not much, ladies and gentlemen, I have a little bit of hope that at least the Ohio EPA is telling the truth, because that's about their citizens. And anyways, I have a little bit, not much, but a little bit. And if that's true, praise God, and I hope it remains that way. But again, I worked for a water company, and I know, water seeps down, it goes down, and it's got to go somewhere, and it ends up in the water table, and that's where our drinking water is. I hope and pray that they're able to catch this and get this before it becomes a problem. I really do. Let me finish this. At least 3,500 fish, mostly small ones such as minnows and darters, have been found dead along more than 7 miles of streams, according to the estimates from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Precautions are being taken to ensure contaminants that reach the Ohio River don't make it into drinking water, officials said. There have been anecdotal reports that pets or livestock have been sickened. No related animal deaths has been confirmed, and the risk to livestock is low. Isn't that funny? Even in the same article, yeah, our animals are dying. Oh, but there are no related animal deaths. Whatever. But they just reported how 3,500 fish they found are dead, up to 7 miles away. Are fish not animals? I don't understand this. I really don't understand this. Are fish not animals? Am I not reading this right? There have been no anecdotal reports that pets or livestock. Oh, I see. Pets or livestock. No related animal deaths, but fish or animals have been confirmed. Isn't it interesting how even like say with the COVID and the COVID shots, people die from the shots, and all of a sudden there's no direct link to the people dying into the shots, to the shots. However, everybody that died of COVID. Now they get the shot, and then they have a heart attack or a stroke or something of that nature, and then they say, oh, it's not, you can't prove that it's related. Really, you can prove that COVID killed people, but you can't prove that the shot killed people. Okay, so you can prove that 3,500 fish are floating around dead 7 miles away from this crash, but there's no direct link. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, do these people think that we're stupid? Do they really think we're that stupid? And it's unfortunate, but you know what? Unfortunately, there are so many people, because we saw who fell for all this COVID nonsense. We saw who fell for the COVID shot nonsense. We saw. So I guess I'm answering my own question on, really? Do they really think that we're that stupid? Well, of course they think we're that stupid, because so many of us all around us are really that stupid. All the animals will die in the area, and there'll still be some knucklehead that'll say, it's not because of that chemical leak. It's not because of that train wreck. The CDC told me. Michael Regan said. And I trust the government. Oh my gosh! Anybody that trusts the government, please, please listen. I really am not trying to be facetious. I know I didn't even say that correctly. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, and I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to even really, make a point necessarily other than just tell you the truth. Please, if you trust our present government, our present president, our government, the CDC, Fauci, World Health Organization, or people like that, if you actually trust them to make right decisions for you and your family, please go see a psychiatrist. You are in desperate need of some deep therapy and possibly some medication. And I mean that with all sincerity. This is not necessarily the avenue or the venue to be able to talk about those things because it should be face-to-face and everything. But I'm just telling you the truth. Do yourself a favor. Find a good therapist. And when I say a good therapist, not somebody that carries the same fears you do, but somebody that can recognize these fears and this foolishness of trusting a government that's lied to us at every turn, sought to harm us at every turn, created fear at every turn, and I know, again, is somehow, some way behind all of this. Anyways, let me just finish this. So, no animals are dead because of this. That's what they claim. State Agriculture Department. Okay. But the State Agriculture Department is testing samples from a beef calf that died a week after the derailment. Yeah, anyways, it's sad. It's funny, but not... Anyways... The suspected cause of the derailment is a mechanical issue with a rail car axle. The National Transportation Safety Board said it has video appearing to show a wheel bearing overheating just beforehand. The NTSB expects to issue a preliminary report in about 2 weeks. Associated Press reporter John Sewer in Toledo contributed. And again, I'm going to put the link in the comments so that you can read this for yourself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to do with all of this? What are we going to do with all of this? I mean, really, what are we going to do with this? Well, what can we do? I don't know about you, but I think we should all, number one, start writing a lot of letters to our Congress, to the White House, to the President, to the Congress, to our representatives, local, at the state level, city, county levels, certainly the federal levels. Start writing tons of letters demanding that they not only get to the bottom of this, but they release and let us know what is going on. Because I'll be honest with you, this sounds like terrorism, okay? It sounds like terrorism to me. That all these things are happening, it just happens to be trains with toxic chemical. That sounds like terrorism to me. I want to know if terrorism is happening on my home soil. Why? Because I want to know what to look for. I want to know if it's really happening. I want to know how to prepare myself. I want to know how to protect myself and my family, my wife and my kids, my church. I want to know, are there foreign terrorists on our soil behind all of this? Or are these terrorists that are homegrown, homeborn, like the Timothy McVeighs? Or, like I suspect, is there some kind of government agency? Maybe, I don't know, maybe the CIA, maybe the FBI. We've been hearing a lot of corruption about, that's in the FBI. Maybe they're behind it. And I think it is also odd because, again, I don't really like to get into a lot of conspiracy issues and things and ideas. But when you see so many things happening all at the same time, it makes you wonder. And I've put puzzles together. I could fit pieces together pretty easily. So when we see, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is now, train derailments going all the way back to even November, and again, that sounded like a trial run to me. I'm just saying, but you see, 3 or 4 of them happening with toxic chemicals. Isn't again, not a coincidence. And it's interesting that this, at least these are happening, and I'm not saying they are or are not. I'm just throwing this out. This is just, I'm not saying they are or they aren't. But what we're led to believe is that the Epstein client list is about to be released, or has been released, or will be released. And that's going to cause a huge issue and problem. Why? Because from what I understand, there's a lot of very, very well-known actors, actresses, governmental officials, and things of that nature. Judges have all been there to Epstein's Island, pedophile island. So when that comes out and it's made known, and especially people's hands are forced, maybe at the FBI or some other law enforcement agency, but their hands are forced and they have to start making arrests. It's going to cause a lot of problems. And in my opinion, let them happen. Let's do it. Put that list out there. We should have already known, and these people should have been rounded up already, So I would think that this would be a sick, super sick, evil, and wicked way to get people's minds off of that and focusing on what? Pets dying, paint smells, chemical smells, dead fish, environmental tragedy for miles, and that will last for years. Get everybody worried about that and freaking out about that and upset about that so that they can slip that Epstein's client list out there with hardly anybody paying attention. But I'm paying attention to both of them. I've been watching both of those. Why? Because I'm getting tired of this happening in my country. This is not Soviet Russia. This is not communist China. This is not Cuba. We're not supposed to be under a dictatorship where these types of things happen freely and frequently. This is supposed to be the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave. And there's some in our even present government, I hate to keep coming back to this, but it's so true, that are destroying the very foundations of who we are as a people and who we are as a nation, mocking this idea of freedom and liberty, mocking our Constitution and the amendments that make the Constitution one of the greatest documents, if not the greatest document on the planet, short of the Bible. And they're mocking, breaking, and they don't care, and they've been getting away with it. Well, I, for one, am tired of them getting away from this. I'm tired of it. Clintons should be in prison. Fauci should be in prison, okay? Biden, his son, certainly, Hunter, should be in prison. All of these guys are evil and wicked, and I know there's a lot of people, well, what about Trump? What about Trump? What about Trump? I'm so sick and tired of hearing people say, well, what about Trump? Well, what about Trump? Let me talk to you just briefly again. This has nothing to do with those toxic things, but just the foolishness of people that just don't understand the way things are supposed to be. President Trump was the president of the United States, and he had some documents that were once classified, okay? But it was perfectly legal for him to do that, because he was actually the president and had the ability to do that. So when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, they did it unconstitutionally and illegally because he had those documents legally and they knew he had those documents. Okay? When Biden had his documents, and Biden had many more documents than Trump did, he took those illegally and unconstitutionally while vice president, and some even while he was a senator. So he had them illegally. He didn't have them locked up. He didn't have them hidden away. He didn't have them under lock and key. He had them in his garage illegally. So what about Trump? Huh? What about Trump? The person that says that in face of all this wickedness that we're going through right now is just as wicked as the Biden administration, the Clintons, Fauci, and every other wicked person in our government that's killing people and responsible for killing people. And they're just as foolish as this Michael Regan here. Just trust the government. Well, I don't. I won't trust you, Michael Regan, until you buy a house or rent a house in that area and you move within a mile of that crash site or 2 miles of that crash site and live there for the next 6 months. Live there, not just rent the house and never come. Live there. Work remotely and live there. And then you can stand up and tell me and ask me to trust the government. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, should you trust the government? Absolutely not. Should you be looking into these train derailments? Absolutely. Should we all be trying to get to the bottom of it and hold the people behind it accountable? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Is this a conspiracy? I don't believe it is, because we do know trains are derailing full of toxic chemicals that are killing animals, at least. And if animals will die because of these chemicals, believe me, humans will die as well. Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's demand from our government and the people, the powers that be, that they give us the answers that we all want. Thank you again for joining us at Table Flippers. Please check out our merchandise. We have hats, hoodies, water bottles, all kinds of cool things. You can find all of our merchandise at tableflippers.com. That's tableflippers.com. And please write me. Please let me know how I'm doing. Write me at gwccrobert, that's one word, gwccrobert@gmail.com. Give me the good letters, give me the bad letters, tell me the great things I'm doing, tell me the bad things I'm doing. I want to hear it all. Have a great day.